Hi, it's Ileana here, and today I am going to be discussing Oumuamua, which had been discovered in 2017 by the Hawaiian satellites, and it's considered to be an ancient Earth visitor to our Milky Way galaxy. What I found most interesting about that discovery is that I had done a remote viewing on it, and I discovered that there were beings in stasis on that craft that were traveling to a distant planet. Those beings are not original to that ship. Their craft had been damaged. So they boarded Oumuamua, which is an ancient world ship. They had these world ships about 1 million years ago that traveled the galaxies, and they seeded new planets with life. So it goes back to 1 to 2 million years ago that these ships were out in the galaxies seeding life. And Oumuamua, this one, it didn't have the original occupants on the ship. So it had other stasis beings in stasis on that ship because that ancient world ship had been abandoned. Newer, better ships had been created, world ships that seed life in the planets. There's still ships like that out there. This is very ancient, old technology, which is in the form of what looks like an elongated rock asteroid-like projection, but inside is a ship. So recently, Avi Loeb, who is a Harvard scientist, he's written a book about it called Extraterrestrial, the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth. So he's written a book about his research on Oumuamua. And this research that he's put into the book, he tells that this is an ancient spacecraft, an ancient large spaceship, or as I like to call it, a world ship, because it's traveling too fast. The trajectory it was traveling at into our, basically into the Milky Way galaxy, into our galaxy, it was traveling way too fast at the velocities to be an asteroid or a comet or anything else that's space debris. It was traveling too fast. So basically the trajectory of the ship told Avi Loeb, based on the velocities that he scientifically compared between asteroids, comets, and other space planetoids objects, the velocity was too fast. Going around the sun, it was too fast. So there had to be some light sails as working as buffering for the engines. So either light sails or some kind of a refractory technology that speeds up the velocity of Oumuamua and slows it down as it leaves the galaxy, or speeds it up. So something on that spacecraft is still working because it is an ancient world ship. So it's still working technology on it. And there are beings in stasis from, and I'll talk about that in the remote viewing, like I'll review that, what my remote viewing results were. And I'll also show you Avi Loeb's new book. It comes out on January 26th, 2021. And he had written scientific articles, and it was published in science magazines about Oumuamua, where he states that it's an ancient advanced spacecraft based on the trajectories of the velocities that it was traveling at. And he was the only Harvard scientist that was saying that this is an alien extraterrestrial craft. Everyone else was labeling it as asteroids, as comets, something else, unclassified, but nobody was saying that it was alien technology, advanced spacecraft or world ship. I call it a world ship because I've seen these types of ships when I was working for the Planetary Corporations on the Mars basis. I've seen specs of such ships. Planetary Corp has boarded those types of ships before. And even though I had been out of the SSB since 2014, after I remote viewed the craft, Oumuamua, in 2017, what happened is I got pulled into a mission to go on the craft itself. Planetary Corp pulled me in to have a look at those stasis beings, to look at the technology. So it was quite an experience actually boarding it. And what they did is that they actually can beam people off one ship. Planetary Corp has shuttles. They have smaller shuttlecraft. So they can come close to the object, and they have their gateway platforms on these shuttles. So they can beam you out from the shuttle onto the spacecraft. And this is an ancient spacecraft that's traveling at high velocities. So docking to it is not that safe. So Planetary Corp has teleportation platform stations on their ships, their crafts, shuttlecrafts. So they have dedicated teleportation technology. So they beamed a small, about 8 people mission of basically, so they beamed 8 people, and I was one of the 8 people of technicians to investigate the craft. And they're spacecraft technicians that specifically are tasked with exploring ancient advanced world ship technologies. So this was a specific task force of people, 8 people, that were allowed to go on that mission. And for some reason, because I had remote viewed it first, they thought I should join in to have a look at it. I mean, I didn't want to be back in the SSP, but I got to telepathically interface with the beings in stasis and learn about them, where they're from, why they were on the ship. So I got to telepathically interface with them during the remote viewing session. And then I got to look at them when I was on Oumuamua. It's hard for me to sometimes pronounce it correctly. I'm trying my best. Oumuamua. That's the best I could do. It's fine. So I'm just going to talk about the remote viewing that I did. And it was amazing to see this technology on the ship itself, because on the outside, it does look like an elongated rock formation, and it's huge, it's long. But on the inside, it was carved out and hollowed out. So some parts of the ship look like what a ship would look like, an advanced ship with a bridge, with, you know, everything. It doesn't, not all parts of the ship internally are rock. It's actually, there's metal ceilings, metal walls. There's this kind of translucent metal technology that they were using inside the craft. It's gray walls. And it's kind of, it's illuminated. The walls are illuminated from what I remember from walking in the hallways and the bridge and the shuttle bays that I got to see, the medical bays. They have cryostasis pods in a lot of, there's like 4 med bays, and they have cryostasis pods because this was a world ship. So it was meant to see life on other planets. And it also has crew quarters and everything for long distance space travel. You could travel 1 million years on this craft and you have everything you need for life. But that craft hasn't been used by the original occupants for that. It's considered obsolete. It's old technology. It's obsolete now, but it still works. And other beings boarded it and used it for their own purposes, put themselves in stasis to travel out where they need to go. So the SSP team could not unlock the cryogenic pods. They didn't have the access codes to unlock the stasis beings traveling on Oumuamua. So we left those beings alone. We looked at the craft. We basically logged everything that we could about the beings, about the craft, and some areas of the craft are very much still have the caverns of the original hollowed out areas where there's evidence that there had been hydroponics, forests, beautiful gardens, stuff like that at one point. Even a huge, like a lake and a lot of water at one point. So it looked like a carved out lake and almost like rapids and a lot of water coming from the mountain face of it. Because this thing is huge. Oumuamua is huge. So it had like a lake. It had a lake formation. You can see it's man-made. And in points of it, it even has water. It still has water in the lake. So, but it has a huge kind of mountainside or a cliff, and there's water coming down from the mountain in fast moving, flowing water from what I could see. I couldn't go down there because it's huge, it's steep. It's hundreds of feet down to the lake from the mountaintop, from this mountain range in this carved out area of the ship. So they did have recreational areas on it because this thing is huge. So I got to see that when I was exploring it. And it's huge. This thing is huge. Obviously, it's no longer being serviced by the original occupants who left it. I'm not sure what happened to the occupants. I was not to investigate that. I was to focus on the stasis beings currently on the ship. And the mission parameters was to study what's on the ship and to study the beings. We could not open the pods because they're coded for their DNA, for their specific DNA sequencing. So that's a protection measure. So we couldn't access them. We couldn't wake them up. And we were told to just leave them and let the ship travel where it's supposed to go to its next destination that they pre-programmed in. And it'll take them some time to get to that planet that they're going to. So I am going to share the results of that remote viewing, and I've kind of described what I saw on the ship when I was on it. It was a heck of an experience. I mean, to get pulled back into the SSP, to get beamed out on one of the Mars bases again, to board a shuttlecraft, and to get transported when that shuttlecraft comes close to Oumuamua, and to get beamed on it and to explore it, to look at these beings. It was an amazing experience. And it was a one-time deal. I don't go on regular SSP missions, but for this one I got pulled in, and I gotta say, it's an incredible technology. It's ancient, but that's what these world ships used to look like. Right now, they're more advanced and they're not disguised as asteroids anymore. World ships are usually cloaked by cloaking technology, so we can't see them with telescopes or satellites. They're cloaked because it has the huge ship, huge world ship. They don't carve them out of like rock formations anymore to make it look like asteroids or something like huge planetoid thing traveling in space. They don't do that anymore. I mean, in the old days, it was good to mask these world ships like that. But now that we have satellites and stuff and telescopes, we can actually track those things and see their progression as they come into our galaxy. And so it's like, there's better cloaking technology now. So the newer versions of those world ships, they're just cloaked. So we can't detect them, but they're there traveling in space to seed other planets, because those kinds of programs are still going on with ETs and ET humanoid beings, the hybrids. Those programs, world seeding of other planets with world ships, that's still going on even now. It's just a better program and better ships now available for that. So they don't have to spend years and like such a long time hollowing out part of a planetoid to create an asteroid looking cigar shaped craft. They can just synthesize a craft with replicating technology parts of the craft. They can synthesize it with replication technology and then build out the other parts. And some of it is biological too, that's integrated into these ships. So it's easier and quicker to make these ships now. And they're huge, they're large. So I just wanted to talk about that, my own experience with Oumuamua. And I was kind of the first to report on it. I did a remote viewing, and I didn't say I went on a mission, on an SSP mission. Right after the remote viewing, I got pulled in. I didn't talk about that, but that's what happened. So I thought I'd share it now because it's very appropriate. Avi Loeb is a scientist. He is a Harvard scientist who's in the scientific world. So he's legit. And I'm looking forward to reading this book. I read the articles that he wrote, and it was, he talked about light sails and how light sails could be powering Oumuamua and making the velocities go faster or slower with light sails technology. So that's quite interesting for me. And I'm looking forward to seeing if that's in his book that comes out January 26th, 2021. So I'm just going to review the book and my remote viewing as well in a minute, just to show you what I had put out and that this book is out now. So this is the book called Extraterrestrial, The First Sign of Intelligent Life Beyond Earth by Avi Loeb, as I had been discussing. The book just came out. It's pre-released for January 26th, 2021. And it says that in late 2017, scientists at a Hawaiian observatory glimpsed an object soaring through our inner solar system, moving so quickly that it could only have come from another star. Avi Loeb, Harvard's top astronomer, showed it was not an asteroid. It was moving too fast along a strange orbit and left no trail of gas or debris in its wake. There is only one conceivable explanation. The object was a piece of advanced technology created by a distant alien civilization. And this craft was created about 2 million years ago. So it was created by a distant alien civilization. Potentially coming from the Pleiades, actually, for parts of Pleiades and even other solar systems, because it traveled quite a bit. In Extraterrestrial, Loeb takes readers inside the thrilling story of the first interstellar visitor to be spotted in our solar system. He outlines this controversial theory and its profound implications for science, for religion, and for the future of our species and our planet. A mind-bending journey through the furthest reaches of science, space-time, and the human imagination. Extraterrestrial challenges readers to aim for the stars and to think critically about what's out there, no matter how strange it seems. And I'm just going to enlarge the cover of the book so you can see it. Again, very beautifully done book, in my opinion. I like the cover. Again, beautiful book. And you can look at it a little bit more in Goodreads. So that's where the links are for it. And now I am going to go and show you the remote viewing that I had done on Oumuamua, the craft. And it was released in the Secret Space Program on December 13th, 2017. I had done the remote viewing 2 days prior to that and then posted it. And I say remote viewing of the cigar-shaped asteroid craft, Oumuamua. There are tall beings in stasis inside this vessel. They have silver whitish skin, wearing silver jumpsuits. They also have whitish blue hair. The stasis units are protected by energetic force fields, so intruders cannot open the stasis pods. Species types are subhumans and called the Dorians. And I don't mean subhumans as an inferior species of beings. They're just hybrids. They're partially hybrid. That's what it means sometimes with that subclassification of subhumans. They're not a lower form of humans. They're just hybrids. So that's what I mean by subhumans. They're hybrids. They're hybridized. The term subhumans means they are a subspecies of humans. That is what the term subhumans describes. To come from human genetic stock, so they're humanoid type ETs. So they have hybridized DNA. Dorians are tall, slender, with pale complexions, being blue-eyed. So they sort of look like Pleiadians a little bit, or Nordics. Some of the Nordic humanoid species are Pleiadians, kind of typical, kind of grayish white skin, silver blue hair, blue-eyed. And they were wearing gray, kind of, I would call a space suit, like the SSP space suits, smart suits. It was form-fitting to the body from what I could see from the stasis pod. And I was looking at directly at the stasis pod during the remote viewing and when I was on the ship. So I was looking directly at one of the stasis pods that was holding the female in it during the remote viewing and when I actually boarded the craft. There was an interface session done with the female Ileana, the Dorian with the blue hair. Apparently their ship was damaged in several of the solar storms out in space, and they boarded the ancient space scout vessel probe that looks like a cigar. There were no occupants on that probe prior to the boarding. They are traveling to a planet called Zolaris. They have been out in space for close to 1 million years. The cigar-shaped ancient scout vessel ship is much older than 1 million years. It is close to 1.5 billion years. So but it was recently used about 2 million years ago for the Dorians that boarded it. They boarded it close to 1 or 2 million years ago. So they've been out in space for quite a bit. And the newer world ships came out about 2 million years ago with upgrades. So the Dorians' original planet, Zeldeka, was becoming too populated with people, so they were branching out to build other colonies on planets. It will take another half a century for the Dorians to reach Zolaris while they are in stasis. Note, there were SSP exploration units that boarded Oumuamua, but they cannot open the stasis pods as they are protected by electrical fields, so the pods cannot be opened without proper DNA coding. Sequences entered into the energy fields. So I did mention in this remote viewing that SSP units boarded the ship, and we did. I was part of that crew, part of the 8 like there were the technicians. You could call them scientists, I guess, but we just call them technicians, ship technicians, exploring ancient technologies and vessels. And I included reference images as I always do with things. I'm not that good at drawing, so I just found approximations of what the ship looked like and what the female that I saw, Ileana, looked like, that I interfaced telepathically with in the remote viewing, and that I actually got to see her in person in the stasis pod. I didn't open the stasis pod. I can't open it. I'm not coded for it. But I got to see her and what she looked like. It's quite interesting. And I guess this was very interesting to me. And I also talked about Avi Loeb in my RV notes. I said, in the RV session, the remote viewer was able to remote sense that the cigar-shaped asteroid was an ancient Space Scout vessel probe. It was built to seed life on other planets and explore other planets. So Avi Loeb had written a scientific paper actually about Oumuamua, so I briefly mentioned that. The scientific paper titled, "Could Solar Radiation Pressure Explain Oumuamua's Peculiar Acceleration?" published in the Astrophysical Journal Letters on November 12, 2018, has astrophysicist scientists describing that Oumuamua could likely be an interstellar probe that was passing by Earth. The wording of the remote viewer matches up that the cigar-shaped asteroid is actually a vessel probe and not just an assumed asteroid. Now the astrophysicist scientists are also hypothesizing that the cigar-shaped asteroid could be a type of vessel probe which came into the solar system to monitor Earth. It's not here, it wasn't passing by to monitor Earth. It doesn't have people on it anymore, so it's not monitoring specific planets. Earth is already colonized, so it's not monitoring the Earth. It's programmed to go to Zildeka to deliver the Dorians to their new planet. So it's not monitoring us, but these ancient world ships were designed to seed life on other planets and to map out planets that are not yet colonized by sentient beings. So it was originally a probe designed to do that, but it doesn't do that anymore. So I just wanted to clarify that. And then I also shared the link to the article. And there it is. Yeah, so the authors of this particular article are Shmuel Bailey and Abraham Loeb. So it is available. You can download full text PDF of this article and read it for yourselves if you'd like. I read it and it's quite an interesting paper. And I guess Avi Loeb has now turned it into a book because it's his scientific work. It's one of his most important scientific works. So I thought I'd share with you guys that I had remote viewed this ancient spacecraft. I call it a world ship, world colonization ship. And I had remote viewed it first and then was included on the mission by the Planetary Corp to board it and study it a little bit. So this I had some involvement with Oumuamua. So it was very interesting. It was a very interesting project, and I'm glad Avi Loeb is now releasing the book about it and what his scientific findings are. Thank you so much, and namaste.